Thank you so much, Chairperson, and good morning, everyone. Good morning, panel members. We greatly appreciate the draft report and presentations and would like to commend Prof. Anneliek and the team for the good first draft that we received. We can't agree more with most of the observations and the recommendations that came out of the report. We took the whole experience as the learning curve, as the pandemic caught everyone in the country, including government, unprepared. As you know, that in the agricultural sector, we do have experience in managing some of the disasters that include drought, floods, fires, and management of pests and diseases. But in the case of this pandemic of this nature, we really do admit that we were caught unprepared. We note the good performance of the agricultural sector under the most trying times. A year-on-year growth of 13.1 is greatly commendable. This growth would also suggest that all role players had put their hands on deck and contributed to the growth of the industry. It is therefore our considered view that we should then also devote a sizable portion of the document to the best practices that emerged during this period, so as to document this for future incidences. It is therefore important that such an important disposition is also outlined as outlined in chapter 6.2 on agriculture has to be balanced and be reflective of the whole spectrum of lessons learned in order to build back a better positive post-COVID-19 and beyond. It is also a concern, Chair, that we note that the papers omits some of the positive contributions played by our government, especially in the agricultural sector, as the regulations spread on a sector towards the growth. We will also argue that such growth could have not been achieved or limited to the weather expansion in the grains and also in the citrus industries. We note the interventions to make one example, contributions to the citrus industries, especially as it is also involving the considerations of SPS for their export. So the host country or the import country would definitely strictly adhere to the protocols. So there have been great interventions that were undertaken by government to ensure that our citrus industry is not affected negatively. We are not running away from the contributions of the other industries, and also the display of the resilience by the wine industry, which definitely has been highly affected. We have heard when Mr. Sihlobo was really alluding to the impact that affected that. We are in acknowledgement of our weaknesses in our systems as we're addressing and attending to the concerns. And we have not given a full attention to equally to all the industries at the same time. So we do agree on the challenges that are linked to communication that we would also want to consider as an area of improvement, and also an area of partnerships that we definitely have to work closer and in partnership with our industry bodies, as they highlighted. So there have been weaknesses in terms of responding. We did not respond as prompt as expected by all the industries. And we also did not have the perfect prioritization as it has been highlighted. Our main contribution has looked at the developmental sector, possibly because we are the developmental state, and we had to ensure that our smallholder farmers also are able to survive and stabilize during this season, especially that they were working towards the winter crops. And so those are some of the supports that the government have offered that we needed not to look at. There are areas of improvement as indicated. Our prompt responsiveness and possibly are linked to poor resources in some of the decentralized offices, we will be looking at that to ensure that we are able to offer services as closer to the needy stakeholders as possible. Chairperson, we would implore that in the future interventions, the positive roles of government should also be emphasized as expressly as where there is a need to identify government shortcomings in managing the pandemic. The other role that is not captured in the role of government is in the regional trade and food security. Admitted, there were backlogs at certain ports, which have been identified and recognized also in the report, and that we will definitely be looking at that. But the stability and assurance of food supply to the region and to other countries has been as a result of government interventions. On that note, Chairperson, I would like to pause there and again extend our appreciation to all the role players and the researchers that have consolidated the report for us. Thank you so much. I do submit.